Welcome back to the channel, my beautiful friends. Let me ask you something. Have you ever put on a brand new outfit, styled your hair, added just a touch of makeup, looked in the mirror, and still felt like something wasn't quite right? Not bad, not unattractive, just older than you expected. And here's what makes it so frustrating. You can't quite put your finger on why. Most women assume it's simply age. They think it's the wrinkles, the gray hair, or the passing years. But what if I told you that in many cases, age isn't the real reason at all? In fact, some of the things that quietly add years to your appearance are details you see every single day. They're so familiar that most women never question them. They continue wearing them, styling them, and choosing them without realizing they're working against them. Today we're going to uncover 5 surprisingly common mistakes that can make women over 60 look older than they truly are. And the most surprising part, none of these mistakes require a complete makeover, expensive products, or a brand new wardrobe to fix. Sometimes the difference between looking tired and looking radiant comes down to one small adjustment, a different choice, a fresh perspective, a detail that suddenly changes how everything comes together. Now I want to be clear about something before we begin. This video is not about chasing youth. It's not about trying to look 30 when you're 60, 70, or beyond. The goal is something far more meaningful than that. It's about making sure your outer appearance reflects the confident, elegant, vibrant woman you have become through years of experience, wisdom, and self-discovery. Because true style isn't about pretending to be younger. It's about looking like the very best version of yourself right now. The good news is that habits can change. Small styling choices can change. And when they do, the results can be surprisingly powerful. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may discover that the thing making you look older has nothing to do with your age at all, and everything to do with a few simple details that are easier to fix than you ever imagined. Let's start with the first one. Part 1. The colors near your face may be aging you without you knowing it. Let's begin with something every woman wears every single day. Yet very few people talk about in the right way: color. Not style, not trends, not whether your clothes are expensive or inexpensive, and not even whether they fit perfectly. The detail that often has the biggest impact on how youthful, vibrant, and refreshed you look is the color that sits closest to your face. Think about that for a moment. Have you ever put on a sweater or blouse and immediately thought, "Wow, I look tired today"? Then on another day, wearing a completely different color, people suddenly asked if you had been on vacation or if you had done something different with your appearance. The interesting thing is that your face may not have changed at all. The color around it did. As women mature, our coloring naturally evolves. The skin often becomes softer in tone. The strong contrast we may have had between our hair, eyes, and complexion gradually becomes more subtle. It's a natural and beautiful part of aging, but it does mean that certain colors begin interacting with our features differently than they once did. This is where many women unknowingly get stuck. They continue wearing the exact same color palette they loved in their 40s or 50s. After all, those colors worked beautifully for years. Why wouldn't they still work now? But here's the truth. When your complexion changes, the colors that flatter you often need to evolve as well. A bright, stark white can sometimes emphasize shadows and make the skin appear washed out. A cool gray may drain warmth from the face. An intense, overly bright pink can compete with your natural features instead of enhancing them. And when that happens, the result can be surprisingly dramatic. Your skin may look duller. Fine lines may appear more noticeable. Your eyes may seem less bright, and you may feel as though something is missing even when everything else is perfectly styled. The good news is that the solution is incredibly simple. Instead of reaching for colors that are harsh, icy, or highly saturated, try moving toward shades that feel softer, warmer, and more balanced. Think warm, ivory instead of bright white, soft camel instead of cool gray, dusty rose instead of a vivid hot pink. These colors don't fight for attention. They work with your natural coloring. They gently reflect warmth back onto the face and create a more harmonious, elegant appearance. One woman shared that after years of wearing only crisp white tops, she reluctantly tried a soft ivory blouse recommended by a friend. She expected no difference at all. Yet when she looked in the mirror, she couldn't believe how much brighter and healthier her complexion appeared. Nothing else had changed, just the color. That's how powerful this small adjustment can be. And here's what I love most about this tip. You don't need to replace your entire wardrobe. You don't need a shopping spree. You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars chasing a new look. Simply become more intentional about the colors that frame your face. Sometimes one blouse, one scarf, or one jacket in a more flattering tone can make a bigger difference than 10 brand new outfits. Because true style isn't always about adding more. Often it's about choosing better. And before we move on to the next surprising mistake, I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed that certain colors make you feel more radiant than others? Let us know in the comments below. Your experience might help another woman discover her most flattering shades. And if you're enjoying this conversation so far, don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you never miss future style insights designed specifically for women who believe confidence only gets better with age. Now let's move to the second detail, and this one might be sitting right in your makeup bag. Part 2. Your foundation may be adding years without you realizing it. Here's something that surprises many women when they finally discover it. Sometimes the makeup you're relying on to look more polished is actually making you look older, and the culprit is often your foundation. Not because you're wearing foundation, but because you're wearing the wrong shade. One of the most common mistakes women make is continuing to use the exact same foundation they've worn for years. It makes perfect sense we find something that works, we stick with it. But our skin doesn't stay exactly the same throughout the decades. As we age, our natural skin tone, undertones, and overall complexion gradually shift. What matched beautifully 10 years ago may no longer be the best match today. When foundation is slightly too light, it can leave the face looking flat, chalky, and lacking dimension. Instead of creating a healthy glow, it can create a pale, almost washed-out effect that drains life from the complexion. On the other hand, a foundation that's too pink can clash with the natural warmth that often develops in mature skin. Rather than softening the appearance of fine lines, it can actually draw more attention to texture and unevenness. The result? The face can appear heavier, less natural, and strangely disconnected from the neck and the rest of the body. Fortunately, the fix is simple. The next time you're shopping for makeup, have your shade checked in natural daylight whenever possible. Natural light reveals what store lighting often hides. Look for formulas with neutral or warm undertones, and consider switching to lighter coverage products. A sheer foundation or tinted moisturizer often creates a fresher, more youthful appearance than a full coverage formula. Remember, mature skin doesn't need more makeup, it usually needs less. When the shade is right and the coverage is lighter, the skin looks healthier, more luminous, and effortlessly natural. And that brings us to another subtle detail that can dramatically influence how youthful and balanced your overall appearance feels. Part 3. The hair volume mistake that can change your entire face. Now let's shift our attention upward for a moment. Because while clothing and makeup certainly influence how youthful and polished we appear, there's another detail that frames your face every single day, and it may be having a much bigger impact than you realize. I'm talking about hair volume. For many women over 60, adding volume becomes a priority as hair naturally becomes finer over time. And that's not a bad thing at all. In fact, a little lift can bring incredible energy and softness to the face. The issue isn't having volume. It's where that volume is placed. One of the most common styling mistakes is creating too much fullness on the sides of the head. Hair that expands outward around the ears and cheeks can visually widen the face, making features appear heavier and less defined. This is especially noticeable on women with rounder or squarer face shapes. You may have seen styles where the sides are full and fluffy while the top remains relatively flat. Ironically, even though there's plenty of volume, the overall effect can feel older rather than fresher. A much more flattering approach is to create gentle height at the crown, the top of the head. Why? Because height naturally draws the eye upward. It creates the illusion of a longer, more lifted face and helps the entire profile appear lighter and more elegant. Even subtle lift at the crown can make the eyes seem more open and the features more refined. The next time you visit your stylist, ask about building volume upward instead of outward. Sometimes a small adjustment in layering, blow-drying, or styling technique can completely change the balance of your look. A simple rule to remember is this: volume on top lifts volume on the sides widens. And speaking of visual proportions, the next mistake has nothing to do with your face or your hair, but it can dramatically affect how tall, slender, and elegant your entire silhouette appears. Part 4. The hemline that may be shortening your silhouette. Have you ever noticed how two women can wear nearly identical dresses, yet one appears taller, more graceful, and effortlessly elegant? The difference is often not the dress itself, it's where the hemline ends. This is one of those subtle style details that most people rarely think about, yet it has an enormous impact on the way the body is perceived. The length of a skirt or dress can visually lengthen your frame, create a leaner silhouette, and add sophistication, or it can do exactly the opposite. One of the most common mistakes women make is choosing a hemline that lands at the widest part of the calf. Why does this matter? Because the eye naturally stops where the garment ends. When a skirt cuts across the fullest area of the lower leg, it visually cuts off the body's vertical line. The result is a silhouette that can appear shorter, heavier, and less balanced. What's interesting is that many women choose this length for a very understandable reason. It feels modest, it feels safe, it feels age-appropriate. But flattering and safe are not always the same thing. A much more elegant choice is often a hemline that falls just below the knee or a midi length that sits between the calf and the ankle. These lengths typically hit a narrower part of the leg, helping create a longer, smoother visual line from head to toe. The effect can be remarkable. You may appear taller, your proportions look more balanced, and your overall style feels more intentional and refined. The next time you're shopping or even reviewing pieces already hanging in your closet, pay close attention to where the hemline falls. Sometimes a difference of just a few inches can completely transform how an outfit works on your body. And that brings us to the final mistake on today's list, one that has less to do with fashion trends and more to do with how clothing interacts with your unique shape. Part 5. When your clothes fit the size but not the woman. For our final point, I'd like you to think beyond colors, makeup, or hairstyles and consider something even more fundamental: the relationship between your clothes and your body. Because there is a difference, a very important difference between clothing that fits and clothing that flatters. Many women assume that if they can button it, zip it, or comfortably put it on, then it fits properly. But true style goes much deeper than that. One common mistake is wearing clothing that is slightly too large. Often this comes from a desire to feel comfortable or to avoid drawing attention to certain areas. Yet oversized clothing can unintentionally create the impression that you're hiding behind your outfit rather than expressing yourself through it. On the opposite end of the spectrum, clothing that is too tight can pull cling and emphasize areas you may not want highlighted. Instead of looking polished, the outfit begins to look restrictive and uncomfortable. Although these mistakes seem very different, they share one thing in common: the clothes become the focus instead of the woman wearing them. The most elegant solution lies somewhere in the middle. Stylists often describe it as clothing that skims the body. Not tight, not baggy, just enough structure to follow your natural shape while still allowing movement and comfort. When clothing falls this way, something remarkable happens. You look more confident, more intentional, and more at ease in your own skin. And here's a secret that many stylish women have known for years: tailoring is often worth more than shopping. A simple adjustment to a waistline, sleeve length, shoulder seam, or hem can completely transform how a garment looks and feels. In fact, a modestly priced dress that fits beautifully will almost always appear more elegant than an expensive one that doesn't. Because true fit isn't about the number on a tag. It's about creating harmony between the garment and the woman wearing it. And when that harmony exists, people don't notice your clothes first. They notice you. Now that we've uncovered all 5 of these surprisingly common mistakes, let's take a moment to bring everything together and look at the powerful message hiding behind them all. As we've seen today, the things that quietly add years to your appearance are often not the things most women worry about. It's not your age, it's not a wrinkle here or a gray hair there. More often, it's the small details colors that no longer complement your complexion foundation that isn't quite right. A hemline that interrupts your proportions, volume placed in the wrong area of the hair, or clothing that fits the size, but not the body. The beautiful part is that every single one of these things can be adjusted. No expensive makeover, no complicated routine, no need to become someone you're not. True elegance comes from understanding yourself, making intentional choices, and allowing your appearance to reflect the confident woman you are today. Because beauty doesn't disappear with age, it evolves. And when your style evolves with it, the results can be extraordinary. If you enjoyed this video, let us know in the comments which of these 5 tips surprised you the most. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more timeless style inspiration, designed especially for women who know that confidence is always in fashion. Until next time, take care of yourself, celebrate your unique beauty, and keep shining at every age.